Hakai.
Meanwhile, on Universe 6's planet of destruction, Goku is lying on the grass. He's exhausted. The Saiyan god says that even now that he's a god of destruction, there's an abysm between their powers, and she is really tough in her training. Vados tells him not to take all her toughness personally, but he must think on the bright side. He has advanced considerably in his training this month. Goku agrees. He remembers that he could barely control his own body, and his power was so out of control, and trying a single blow, he would cause terrible destruction and even hurt himself. He says he's not perfect now, but at least he can fight without destroying everything around him and losing control. Vados says that although he is controlling his energy a little better, he is still a long way from being able to control 100% of his powers, and there is still a large limit of energy he can release in battle. And if he exceeds that limit, somehow it can cause great catastrophes in the universe. But Goku is determined and says he will continue to do his best in training. Vados says that for now she thinks it's best if they take a break from training. A little rest can be good for performance. How about he know a little about his universe? Is there a specific place he would like to visit? Goku is excited with this question. He says that he would like to fight Hit again. He would like to know the Earth of that universe and would also like to know the planet of the Saiyans. Vados says that fight against Hit might not be a good idea. There is a risk that the battle will get out of control and they destroy the entire universe. But visiting Earth on Sadala might be a good idea. Goku thinks a little better. He's lived on Earth his whole life, so he shouldn't find much news there. In that case, he will visit Sadala. Vados agrees and suggests they rest for the day, and tomorrow they leave for Sadala. The next day, Goku and Vados arrive on planet Sadala. Looking at a large castle, Goku comments to Vados that he didn't know the Saiyans' planet was so technologically advanced. Vados says that it was not always like this, and that in the past the planet went through many problems. But in the last millennium, things have changed, and currently Sadala is one of the most important places in Universe 6, if not the most important. Goku asks why they're so important. Vados explains that there are a few reasons, but the main one is that the Saiyans are the most important force of order in the universe. Among all those who provide security and policing services, the Saiyans are the main ones. She tells them that in Universe 7 they have a galactic patrol to do this job. In Universe 6 they have the Saiyans. Goku remembers Kaba mentioning something like that when they first met, about Saiyans being heroes in that universe. A group of Saiyans find Goku and Vados, and noticing their strange look, Goku asks what's going on. Vados explains that they are close to the planet's royal castle and that area is probably off limits. This information is confirmed by the Saiyan guard who approaches the visitors, saying that this is a prohibited area. Goku says they don't want trouble and that he would like to see Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla, but the soldier is very angry with that. He asks them what they want with their captain and what relationship they have with those criminals. But Goku doesn't understand. He swears he's not a bad guy. But someone yells stop. It was Kaba, who was coming there to them. Kaba reassures the soldiers. He says that they can rest easy and that he would take care of those two. As the soldiers leave, Kaba asks what Goku and Vados are doing there, and also asks where Lord Champa and Mr. Vegeta are. Goku lightly explains the situation, saying that Champa wasn't doing a good job and that he's now the god of destruction. Kaba is shocked by that. Was Goku a god of destruction now? And how did he not notice the outfit that Goku was wearing? But then Kaba realizes something else. If the god of destruction was there, does that mean Salada should be destroyed? But Goku reassures the Saiyan that he's just visiting to see the planet. Calmer, Kaba says that in the case, he should meet the king. He should know there is a god visiting them. Goku quickly agrees. He would love to meet the king. After that, Kaba took Goku and Vados to Sadala's royal castle. In the castle courtyard, they were greeted with respectful greetings from the castle soldiers. Goku noted that Kaba is highly respected among the Saiyans. They treat him with a lot of respect and don't even ask him about him and Vados. Kaba explains that he is Sadala's elite captain, considered the #1 soldier in the king's army. No one but the king himself has more authority in the army than he does. Goku asks about Kale and Caulifla. Aren't they part of the army too? But Kaba scolds the god. He says, do not speak their name, which is a very complicated subject and that he explained later. Even seemingly confused, Goku just do as he says. They follow the castle corridor until they find a door. Kaba warns that this is the throne room. He will first enter to warn the king of their presence. Kaba enters the room when there are some Saiyan soldiers scattered, and in the background is the throne. Kaba addresses those on the throne and says that these are two visitors. They are Vados and Goku, the angel and god of destruction in the universe. The king asks about this god of destruction Goku. Wasn't the Hakishin's name Champa? But Kaba explains that now Goku was the new god. The king lets them in. Goku and Vados enter. Goku looks at the king, who returns the look with a serious expression. The king raises from his throne, descends the stairs, and then kneels. He respectfully greets the great god of destruction and asks the reason for his visit. Goku is amazed at his attitude. He says he doesn't have to do all that. He was just a Saiyan just like them. Vados disapproves of this behavior. Apparently, the divine behavior classes were not effective. The king is very surprised. He apologizes. After that, he introduces himself, and his name is Christa. Goku also introduces himself. Looking at the king's face, he notes that it's just like Vegeta. Christa recognizes that name and asks Kaba if this Vegeta wasn't that Saiyan from Universe 7. Kaba confirms and says that Mr. Vegeta and Lord Goku are great rivals. Christa, understanding the situation, says it's a little curious that a Saiyan from another universe became a god of their universe. Goku agrees it is kind of weird, but the king treats him very friendly, asking if he would like to join them in a feast. He wants to know more about the Saiyans of Universe 7 and is sure that Goku has a lot of interesting things to tell him. But unfortunately, Goku can't. He's grounded. But a god grounded? Christa is very surprised by that. Who explains the situation is Vados, saying that in one of their trainings, Goku ended up not following her instructions and he lost control of his powers and destroyed a large part of the universe. She needed to go back in time to fix this mess, so she decided to give Goku a punishment. She decided to forbid him to eat for a month. And as he was a god, he didn't need to eat to survive. But mentally, he still feels hungry from having been immortal until recently, so it was the perfect punishment. But Christa is impressed by that. Because of the lack of control, he destroys a large part of the universe? Suddenly, the king makes a serious expression. And then he makes a request. He wants Goku to fight him, leaving everyone in that place completely shocked. After Sadala's ruler, Christa, suddenly challenged the god of destruction, Goku, to combat. They headed to a vast desert, the region as far away from civilization as possible. Goku and Christa face each other as Kaba and Vados look on. A worried Kaba says that even though they are far from civilization, he doubts that such powerful men's battle will not affect the planet. But Vados, helpful as ever, takes care of it. She creates a force field around them. This force field will contain their energy so that it does not harm the planet, and it will also prevent them from being felt. That means they are completely under the radar now. Goku, as he begins to emanate his energy, says that Vados helped them, and now they can fight carefree. Christa, while taking off his cape and also emanating his energy, says this is perfect. Kaba, dissatisfied with the whole situation, says he doesn't know what the king has in his head to challenge Goku to a battle. Vados theorizes that it is perhaps in the nature of Saiyans to challenge powerful people, and she also asks if Christa is powerful. Kaba responds that Christa is probably the strongest Saiyan to ever exist in the universe. He tells that many years ago, an extremely powerful army invaded Sadala, and that army was so powerful that the Saiyan army could not do anything against them. It was a massacre, but an absurdly powerful child was among the enemy hordes, and that child single-handedly defeated them all. That child was Christa. Vados says this is impressive. Kaba agrees and continues to tell the story, saying that Christa was considered a great hero of Sadala, and he was becoming more and more popular until he managed to become king, and even though he was not part of the nobility of the planet, which was unprecedented in history, from Sadala. Since then, he has been a great king, and it was thanks to him that Sadala stopped being some barbaric planet because what it is today. Kaba even says that Christa is probably the best thing that Saiyan race ever had. But Vados says that Sadala's process of change and development must have taken many centuries, and Saiyans don't live that long. But Kaba explains that the king is special. Many years ago, harboring a great desire to protect Sadala, he went to Namek and made a wish for the Dragon Balls and became immortal. Since then, Christa has ruled Sadala, and that's been nearly 1,000 years. Vados says that she is impressed. A Saiyan who was already extremely powerful in his childhood and who is already over 1,000 years old. He must be a very special warrior. But Kaba is sad. He says that Goku is now a god of destruction and that even King Christa should be easily defeated. But Vados says things that are not quite like that. She explains that because he doesn't control his power well as a god of destruction, Goku has a huge limit of power he can use in his fight. This means that he will fight very limited, using a small percentage of his power. Christa has a chance to win. Goku and Christa have already raised their ki, both fighters emanating their power, and then they advance to begin combat. When they clash their fists, only the pressure of the impact destroys the ground around them. After that, the two disappear at high speed and start an exchange of blows so fast that only their figures can be seen. Christa kicks Goku, who defends. Goku punches Christa, who disappears to dodge. Kaba is impressed. They are so fast that he can barely see them, and they are so strong that just the impact of their blows makes his bones vibrate. Goku and Christa continue with an intense exchange of blows, both fighters attacking, defending, and dodging with great skill. At one point, Goku tries to land a blow on Christa, but the king disappears from his front and goes to his back preparing a kick. Goku manages to block the kick, but is thrown by the force of the attack. Christa accompanies Goku and tries to land another hit. Goku disappears to dodge, but Christa anticipates where he is going to appear, nearly punches Goku in the face, who narrowly dodges it. Kaba is impressed. Goku is under pressure. Goku in his thoughts thinks that Christa is stronger than he thought at the moment, but even though he was not transformed, he was using the power of a Super Saiyan 3, but even so he is at a disadvantage. The distraction is costly and Goku is hit by Christa's hard punch in the chest, and he clearly feels the blow quite a bit. The destroyer tries to fight back with an attack, but Christa disappears in front of him and reappears on his back and lands a kick on the destroyer. Goku is thrown a few meters away by the king's strength, but manages to stop. But Christa doesn't want to give the god time to think and launches 2 ki blasts at him. Goku doesn't stand still, and after creating 2 Kienzans in his hand, he launches them at Christa. The attack collides, and the Kienzans win and head towards Christa, who deftly dodges it by lying in the air and passing between the 2 energy discs. But Goku manipulates the disc to return to the king, but Christa manages to grab one of the discs without being cut and throws it at the second. Both explode. But this was the opportunity that Goku wanted, and he appears on the back of the king, ready to hit him with the attack. But Christa sees him and lands a strong kick in the abdomen of the Saiyan god, who is very surprised because he was sure he did the instant transmission right in Christa's blind spot and hid his ki. How did the king notice him? Christa wastes no time, and while Goku is still stunned by what just happened, he moves on to the Saiyan's back and fires 2 energy attacks from his hands that launch the God of Destruction into the ground, destroying a portion of the ground. After gaining space by knocking his opponent to the ground, Christa forms a large ball of energy, then launches it at Goku. Goku holds off the attack but has a hard time, and while the god is distracted by the major attack, Christa forms a minor attack in his hand and thinks that attack will end the fight. Goku, to get rid of the bigger attack, uses the Hakai, but Christa takes advantage of the fact that he was blinded by the attack and appears right in front of him ready to land the next attack. And then a huge explosion happens. Kaba, impressed, says that he's never seen King Christa use so much power in an attack, and if Goku was hit by that. But Vados reassures the young Saiyan, probably seeing something he doesn't. After the explosion, he sees a large crater in the ground, and in the center of his crater is Christa, who apparently hit nothing but the ground with his attack. And behind the king in the sky was Goku, who was now using Ultra Instinct. Christa, watching his opponent, says that he's finally transformed, but that doesn't look like a Saiyan transformation. Goku explains that this is Ultra Instinct, a special ability of angels that not even the gods of destruction can control well. Christa says that Kaba mentioned something like that when he got back from the Tournament of Power. Advancing against Goku with great determination, Christa tells the god to show him the power of his Ultra Instinct. Christa tries to string attacks on Goku, but the god of destruction dodges all the blows with apparent ease. Kaba, apparently worried, asks Vados if Goku should be using this ability. In the Tournament of Power, he seemed to suffer a lot using it. Vados explains that in the Tournament of Power, Goku still had the body of a mortal, and because this is an advanced divine technique, his body suffered when using it. But now that he's a god, he has an immortal body. That won't be a problem anymore. But in her thoughts, Vados thinks the problem was something else. If Goku uses Ultra Instinct too much and unleashes too much power, he could lose control, and that would be a big problem. For now, even using this ability, he is using a safe power level, even lower than what he used against Jiren. But the time between balance and imbalance is very thin at this point. That is, if Goku uses a little more power, he can lose control at any moment. While dodging Christa's attacks, Goku also thinks about his situation. He's at the limit of the power he can use, and if he raises his power just a little more, he might lose control. If he loses control, Vados will intervene in the fight, which means he will have lost. But he doesn't want to lose, he wants to win. Goku finally counters Christa with a punch. The king blocks the attack, but the destroyer's force is so great that it throws the mortal Saiyan away, causing him to destroy the ground to stop his body. But still, even blocking Goku's attack, Christa spits out blood, clearly very stunned by the attack. The king notes that not only has his opponent's defensive ability changed, but his offense is also much more powerful. This Ultra Instinct is really an amazing technique, but Goku is already after the king and he apologizes, but he needs to get this over with. However, to Goku's surprise, when he would land a finishing blow on the king, he simply misses, which leaves the God of Destruction very confused. Christa wastes no time, and then, accumulating a strange energy in his fist, rushes towards Goku to land a blow on him. Goku clearly dodges, but strangely the attack lands, and it was a great attack. The destroyer is thrown very violently into the force field, causing destruction on impact. But it's not just Goku who's very surprised by the attack. Kaba and Vados didn't understand very well either. And Vados notes that Christa's last attack far exceeded the power he was going to use in the fight so far. Goku, while getting up, thinks that he is sure he dodged that blow, and also that he would land that attack. What happened? And what absurd strength was that? But the destroyer's reflections are interrupted when he looks up into the sky and sees something. Did he transform? In the sky, Christa shows a new form. Kaba is surprised. Can the king transform, and what form is this? Doesn't look like the average Super Saiyan. But Vados isn't the least bit surprised. After all, it's only to be expected that the millennial Saiyan warrior with a prodigious track record like his would have some sort of hidden power, right? But Goku recognized that energy. He's already felt something similar, and if that's what he's thinking, it could be very serious. And while he thinks that, he is remembering Broly. But the time for speculation is over. Christa is ready to finish the battle and screams for the God of Destruction to get ready too. Christa lunges at the God of Destruction, who was getting up to react, when suddenly he is startled to see around the king the image of an Uzaru roaming at him. Goku is very scared. What is that? Kaba yells for him to get out of there, and then a gigantic explosion happens. Kaba has to hold on to Vados to not being blown away by the wind, and he does so. He wonders if he wasn't going too far for a friendly fight, and Vados, in agreement with the young Saiyan, says that apparently Saiyans take even the most random fights very seriously. When the wind blows over, Kaba is finally able to release the angel and asks who the winner was. At the center of the crater is Christa, but he is alone there. Did he miss the attack? Kaba asks where Goku is. Vados, who has apparently already seen him, with a serious expression, questions if he really reached this point. And Christa, also seeing something, says it doesn't look good. And Kaba, just now seeing that what had happened, asks what this is. And then we finally see Goku, who has a completely different appearance, a demonic appearance, and surrounded by the energy of destruction. Kaba asks what that is. Goku has changed a lot, and he has never felt anything so dark in his entire life. Goku, with a devilish smile, raises his hand and says he's going to destroy everything. Christa, with a worried expression, takes his fighting stance, but then someone puts his finger on Goku's neck and he quickly returns to normal, very confused. Goku asks what happened and what he was doing up there. Vados, who was already behind him and was the one who turned him back to normal, explains that at the moment Christa was going to hit him. Goku increased the Ultra Instinct's power level so he could escape the attack, and how he was already at his limit of power he could use. Even this quickly increase in power was enough for him to lose control. Goku, now understanding what happened, lowers his head and, disappointed, assumes his defeat. Christa, also clearly very relieved, undoes his transformation as he sighs in relief that it's all over. But Vados has some thoughts about what just happened. She notes that actually, since Christa's last attack was direct and obvious, Goku should have been able to dodge it without raising his powers, but he probably saw or felt something that she and Kaba couldn't, and it distracted him. Because this, he was late to dodge and needed to increase his powers to dodge. It seemed that this man named Christa really has something very special. But now, with a relaxed smile, Vados calls out to them to heal them and fix their clothes. Some minutes later, everyone is talking peacefully in the king's palace. Goku and Christa's wounds have already been healed, and their clothes have been also repaired by Vados. Goku thanks the king, saying it was so much fun fighting him, but he hopes that next time the king won't hide his real powers. Christa smiles, surprised that Goku noticed, but he also tells the Saiyan God that he also realized that he was far from using his full power. Goku confirms, explaining that until he manages to control his power well, he has a very big limit on how much energy he can expend. And then Goku asks why Christa didn't participate in the Tournament of Power. Things could have been very different for Universe 6 if he had been there. Christa explains that he promised a long time ago that he would always stay on Sadala to protect the planet and the people, and that's why he doesn't leave the planet. This surprises Goku, who says he's a very responsible king. Goku's admiration is understandable, as he would certainly never give up a good fight for something like that. And now, much to Kaba's annoyance, Goku calls him to see Kale and Caulifla. Kaba scolds the destroyer, reminding him not to talk about them there. Goku apologizes, embarrassed. But Christa doesn't care. He says that Goku is a god, and he has nothing to do with the planet's internal conflicts. The king says that Kaba can take him to them, but he must be careful and not go into too dangerous places. Sadala's elite captain accepts his king's order. Christa says he now has kingdom business to attend to. But before he goes, he asks Goku that, in case he sees Kale, try to get some sense into her head. And he completes saying that his daughter is very problematic. Goku is shocked. Is he Kale's father? Kaba laughs embarrassed. He forgot to warn about that. A few minutes later, Goku, Kaba, and Vados are flying across the planet. On the way, Goku observes a poor village where the people seem to live precariously. The visitor asks Kaba why the villages in the region are so poor compared to the main city and the king's palace. Kaba explains that lately some regions are going through difficult times because of crime. And this region specifically is rebel territory, and they are suffering a lot from the war. This surprises Goku. Is the planet at war? Kaba says yes, there is a revolutionary force that wants to remove King Christa from power, and the one who commands his revolutionary force is Caulifla. This surprises Goku a lot. Caulifla is a revolutionary? But on second thought, now Goku understands why Kale and Caulifla's names caused so much resentment back in the capital and the palace. And Kale, the king's daughter, is a revolutionary leader's best friend. That must be pretty sad. Kaba explains that Kale, like many other people, disagreed with the king's rule and revolted against him. Although Christa is a great hero of Sadala, many have forgotten his heroic efforts over time, and many generations have passed. Christa doesn't make a point of reminding everyone about it so that his fame doesn't increase too much and spread across the universe. Since, if his fame spreads across the universe, many aliens would want to go to the planet to prove their powers against the king, which could put Sadala at risk. But because they don't remember Christa's deeds, many see him as a tyrant complacent with power, and so they decide to create a revolutionary force to remove him from throne. Caulifla commands this revolution. Kaba also explains that in the beginning the revolutionaries were just criminal groups that dominated small regions. But in recent times, the rebels have gained funding from a tycoon who takes advantage of wars taking place in the universe. Since then, the revolutionary forces have grown a lot and are giving a lot of work to the imperial forces. Kaba finally stops, and Goku and Vados do the same. The Saiyan captain points in their direction and says that the castle that served as a base for the rebels is there. He's already gotten too close, and he's already taking a risk. If he goes any further, he could have a lot of problems. Goku says that everything is fine and that they can go on their own. Meanwhile, in the rebellion castle, Caulifla devours a piece of meat while Kale watches her. A subordinate enters the room saying that a guy and a woman outside wanting to see her. Caulifla, with her mouth stuffed with meat, asks who it is. The soldier says he's forgotten their names but describes that man wore a funny necklace and the woman had a halo like an angel. Caulifla immediately scolds the soldier, saying that it must be Champa and Vados, and that it was to send them in. The soldier, fearing Caulifla's anger, hastens to obey. Caulifla is curious about the reason for Champa's visit. She says that maybe he wants to ask them to fight him again. If that's the case, she can't accept it. She's too busy, but maybe they could accept it in exchange for some favor for their cause. After coming up with this idea, she asks what Kale thinks of it, but Kale just thinks Caulifla is really smart, and she agrees. And she also says that Champa will be stunned to see her on the throne. But when the gates open, they're the one who is stunned when they see Goku wearing a God of Destruction costume walking in saying hello. Some minutes later, Goku finishes explaining how it all happened and he became a God of Destruction. Caulifla now understands and agrees that Champa really seemed to be a very neglectful god. But then the Saiyan girl gets straight to the point. She wants Goku to fight her. He is surprised by the sudden request. He thought that after he became a god, people would be afraid of him, but it's the opposite. It seems that everyone is eager to fight him. Caulifla justifies her request by saying that she won't miss the chance to fight a Saiyan God of Destruction. She's sure that if they fight, she'll get stronger, like last time. But Goku apologizes. He can't. He explains that his powers are still unregulated and if he fights he could hurt her. She's too fragile to fight him. After all, she can't even transform into a Super Saiyan 3. Caulifla, annoyed by what Goku said, says that if that's the case, she'll make the fight more interesting for him, and then calls Kale. Kale, as usual, is not understanding anything. Caulifla, with a smile of someone hiding something, says it's time for them to do that. Goku is curious. What are they going to do? And then the two Saiyan girls start doing a very special dance. Goku immediately recognizes those moves and is then completely surprised. And then they complete the movement. And when that happens, a lot of energy is released. And according to Goku, it's a very powerful energy. And so a new Saiyan warrior is born. The Metamuru fusion of Kale and Caulifla, Kale, who is of course ready to kick his ass. But Goku is still confused. How did they both learn that dance? Kale explains that after the Tournament of Power, Kale and Caulifla were very impressed and excited by Kefla's power. So they asked the Supreme Kai Fua to keep the Potara earrings so they could fuse whenever they wanted. But Fua did not allow it, saying that the Potara's earrings are divine artifacts and could not be used that way. But with a little threat, the Kaioshin revealed another way to fuse, the dance of the Metamoru race. So the two went to the planet of the race and asked the Metamorus to teach them to dance. That's how Kefla was born. Goku finally got it. It looked like the Metamoru race is not extinct in Universe 6 as it is in Universe 7. Kefla reminds Goku that he wanted to see a Super Saiyan 3, so just watch. Kefla begins to emanate a large amount of energy so powerful that it makes Sadala tremble. And as lightning forms around the Saiyan warrior, her hair starts to grow. That's Super Saiyan 3. Goku is impressed by her power. That was no ordinary Super Saiyan 3. Her hair was green like that weird Kale transformation. That form was much more powerful than any ordinary Super Saiyan 3. Kale asks if the king is seeing this. That will be all for him. From his palace, Christa seems to sense Kale's energy and has a very serious expression. Maybe angry, maybe worried, who knows? After that, Kale asks Goku if he's ready to face the most powerful warrior in the universe. Goku is excited, and while doing his fighting stance, he says it's going to be amazing. But a sudden blow puts the god of destruction to sleep. Kale complains, what was going on? Why she did it. Vados justifies it by saying that Goku has already abused his power once today, and if he fought her, he would definitely do it again, and that would be very dangerous. She says that it's best to take him to rest, so maybe next time. Kale, completely disappointed, undoes the transformation and says he's an idiot. In space, while Goku's away, Vado says that despite the scares, she is very grateful that Goku chose to visit this planet first. She is sure that seeing the powerful people who live in Sadala, he is more excited to be a god of the universe. He also understood his limits better and will definitely train more willingly to improve. Today was a good day. Cooler warns his enemies to prepare to be slaughtered by him, and as he concentrates his energy, Captain Salza's tracker detects the fighting power of 600 billion. And not only that, it was growing even more and more. After concentrating his energy, Cooler tells Salza to try to measure his power with the tracker. Salza in thought says that his lord's power has already exceeded 1 trillion. That was madness. Cooler to the demon says that he could increase his power more, but that level was enough to defeat them. One of the demons says that Cooler's power can be compared to the gods of the celestial world. That was impressive. And the other demon asks if they should alter the master, since that man was no ordinary mortal. But their leader, the white-clothed demon, says that they shouldn't despair. He was just a mortal. It would be a shame if he had to call the boss to deal with him. They would never get promoted that way. It was time for them to show their full power. The three concentrated their power, and Salza detected that their fighting power is growing abnormally. But Cooler watches it all silently. The three complete the transformation. They are bigger and stronger. Cooler asks Salza about their power. Salza explains that individually they are weaker than Cooler, but together they can be a problem. Cooler smiles and says that was good. They would be good exercise. But those words irritate the demon, who rush towards the mortal at high speed. They move around Cooler so fast, they create a whirlpool of sorts. Two of them attack Cooler, but the mortal escapes the attack with a leap. But the leader was waiting for him and attacks with a blow that could hit Cooler's neck. But Frieza's general is fast and moves to the demon's back, hitting him with a powerful kick and sends him crashing towards the ground against the other two guardians. The other two jump away, letting the leader hit the ground hard, but Cooler, extremely fast, goes behind one of them and slashes through him with an attack. The demon wonders how he can move so fast. The other demon already came to attack Cooler, but before he could escape the blow, the demon whose body he had pierced with his arm grabbed his arm. He says that he won't let Cooler get away. The demon attacks with a move called Super Demon Fist. Salza yells at his lord to watch out, and Frieza watches with a serious expression. Then a big explosion happens. Salza, who had been knocked down by the impact of the explosion, stands up. He looks at the explosion site and sees through the smoke the silhouette of someone. When the smoke disappears, it is seen that Cooler held the demon's blow with a single hand. The demon is shocked. Did he hold off his attack with one hand? And Cooler mocks the attack. Super Demonic Fist. It should be called Worm Fist. After saying that, he breaks the demon's arm, but the Guardian, even with such pain, uses this as an opportunity to grab Cooler's other arm. So he yells at his boss, who is named Nikki. Nikki from above prepares his claws too, according to him, to tear Cooler to pieces. Salza, desperate for the possibility of his commander's death, asks Frieza to help him, but Frieza doesn't intend to do anything but watch. but the situation is resolved. Cooler doesn't need his arms, he has his eyes, which fire a powerful laser that hits Nicky's chest and knocks him down, which causes the other two fellow Guardians to despair. He then addresses the other two creatures holding him, asking if they still haven't realized they were useless. And then using his finger, he shoots an energy laser that goes through the neck of one of them, which immediately falls. After that, with his hand that is crossed in the other demon, he breaks him in half. Nicky, down, yells for his two companions, who we discover are named Ginger and Sancho. Cooler says he thought that he would be a bigger challenge, and it was a little disappointing, but at least he could have a real fight after so many decades. But Salsa is confused. Individually, Cooler's fighting power and the demon's fighting power weren't that different. So the fight would have been much more challenging for Cooler, but instead it was a real massacre. Frieza explains that Cooler is controlling his power so precisely that during the fight he changed his power several times to attack and defend. But the changes were so quick that the tracker couldn't measure it. After saying this to Salsa, Frieza in his thoughts thinks that Cooler, despite his short training time, has energy control almost as good as his own. He'll have to pay more attention to his older brother. But the fight isn't over yet. Nicky gets up. He says that they are celestial guardians and they won't be easily defeated. Cooler says that from his point of view, they've already been defeated. He and Nicky can't do anything with that wound and the other two are already dead. But Nicky tells him to watch. The demon begins to concentrate energy and suddenly he pulls the corpses of Ginger and Sancho into his body, which seemed to enter him. After that, an energy surrounds Nicky he was transforming. Salsa apparently measures something on his tracker and is completely shocked by the power he saw. Then the transformation is complete and everyone beholds the great demon that was just born. It says that it was the fusion of Nicky, Ginger, and Sancho. Janisha, the most powerful demon in the world, is born. Everyone is surprised by the twist. Cooler says that they are really powerful and that can be problematic. And Frieza is just surprised that those worms have even more powers. In an instant, Janisha, who was distant from Cooler, appears in front of him, surprising the general. But the demon's punch only hits the ground, destroying it. Cooler is already behind him, preparing an energy attack that according to him would end the fight. But when Cooler fires his attack, surprisingly, an arm comes out of Janisha and defends the attack. Then another arm comes up and grabs Cooler's ankle, and then throws him hard to the ground. With his enemy down, Janisha approaches while showing 2 more arms for the total of 4 arms on his back. And then with his 6 arms, the demon attacks Cooler with many blows. Salsa can't stand to see his master beaten up any longer. He decides to intervene before his master and commander dies. But Frieza warns him not to be stupid. At that moment, the demon was releasing a huge amount of energy. If he gets close, he will be killed. Frieza even says that Cooler is his brother and his army's general, and if he can't deal with an opponent like that, he's not worthy of living. When Janisha finishes his attack, Cooler is on the ground, clearly injured. He comments that he has never received such strong attacks in his entire life. Janisha holds Cooler's arms and legs with his extra arms, and lifting the opponent up with his normal arms, prepares an energy attack that would surely kill Cooler. And so he decides it's time for the invader to die. But Cooler calls his enemy a disgusting demon and says he won't forgive him. An explosion happens. Janisha walks away. Cooler is concentrating his energy. Salsa already knows what's going on. Cooler is transforming. He is surprised that he will see the legendary transformation of the Great Cooler, and he didn't even know if it was real. Frieza in his thoughts reveals that unlike him and his father, who needed to use containment transformations to contain their powers because they couldn't control, Cooler was different. He was always able to stay in his original form by controlling his powers. But apart from that, he still has another transformation that increased his powers even more. He reveals that he has a bad memory of this transformation, and that is in the past. He had a lot of problems because of it, but it's a little nostalgic to see that from there. Cooler finally shows off his amazing final form. He said that he didn't expect to have to use that form there, but Janisha should feel honored to be killed by him in that form. The demon doesn't like to hear that, and while telling the invader to shut up, he throws his army at the enemy. Cooler gathers some energy in his fingertips, then lowers his arms as if finishing a cut. Then Janisha's arms fall off. After that, at incredible speed, Cooler appears in front of Janisha, and before the Guardian can react, the cold demon pierces the Guardian demon's stomach with a single blow. Janisha says that was impossible. He can't believe his opponent's strength. Cooler says that Janisha's powers cannot be compared to his, and he still wasn't using all of his power. That is, Janisha never stood a chance in this battle. But the Guardian demon doesn't give up. He tells Cooler to shut up, and with Ginger and Sancho's mouth on his chest, Janisha fires 2 energy attacks. But Cooler amazingly holds the attacks in his hand, which leaves the demon shocked. Cooler says he's tired of them, and Frieza, realizing what his brother was going to do, yells at him not to. But ignoring his younger brother, Cooler puts the energy attack back from where they came, and then Janisha explodes. A big explosion can be seen even outside the castle. We later see a pillar of energy apparently contain the explosion, and that was done by Frieza. Salza is relieved. He thinks that if it wasn't for Frieza, he would have been killed by it. Frieza scolds his general. If he hadn't contained that explosion, he could have destroyed the entire castle and killed everyone. But the two of them, and that included Janemba, Cooler's soldiers, and even those on the ship. Cooler, with an unconvincing expression, apologizes. He was too excited, and besides, those enemies weren't weak opponents that he could fight with absolute control of everything. Frieza is annoyed by his brother's fake answer, but decides to ignore it and goes to take a closer look at the cocoon. Frieza notes that the cocoon was unharmed despite all the pressure of the battle. But now what? How was he supposed to wake Janemba? Cooler asks if he didn't ask what he should do after he had possession of the cocoon. Frieza says no. He expected to ask those idiots, but he didn't have time. Also, Cooler killing them didn't help much. But the older brother already has the solution. How about asking Zuno, who knows everything? Frieza in his thoughts thinks that Cooler probably killed Janisha on purpose, thinking that maybe they could need to go to Zuno for some reason. Cooler could definitely like to see how to get access to someone who knows everything. After all, information is also power. But no problem, if he keeps his brother under his vision, he won't be a problem. Frieza puts on his face a fake smile and tells his brother that it was a good idea. They will go to Zuno. And after that, they took Janemba's cocoon to the ship and then starts a new trip, this time to see Zuno. Frieza's spaceship travels through space. Inside it, more specifically, inside the training room, as Cooler and Frieza, who are apparently in yet another one of several intense training sessions. Cooler taunts his brother, saying that Frieza is starting to put more effort into their trainings. Doesn't that worry him? But Frieza, with a fake smile on his face, says no. To the contrary, intense training will make him much more stronger. But their conversation is interrupted by Berry Blue, who warns them that their destination is close. Cooler asks Frieza if he should call his soldiers, but Frieza says it's not necessary. On the Zuno's planet, there is nothing threatening for them. The ship finally lands on the planet. Frieza and Cooler leave surrounded by many soldiers, but something is wrong. They feel a very powerful energy in that place. Cooler asks his brother if he can feel it too. Frieza says yes, and they should be careful. They fly across the planet and Frieza sees something. They were brutally murdered, and when the two land, they see that those people who have served Zuno are dead. As they advance, they see a monster similar to a chimera, and that monster is holding Zuno in its mouth. On top of this monster is a strange creature, and when the creature looks to the brothers, they get very tense. Frieza says that just the presence of that person makes his body feel heavy, and Cooler asks his younger brother if he thinks they can beat this thing. Frieza says he doesn't know. He never felt such a presence of pressure before. But the creature begins to show an weird personality. The monster with a personality a little cheesy tells them not to worry. He just wants the chubby little guy there. This behavior leaves Frieza and Cooler a little shocked, and Frieza comments that Guy had a bit of eccentric behavior. That strange person says goodbye, takes a card that has some strange design on it. He throws that card on the floor and a magic rune appears, and then he enters together with the monster and Zuno in that magic rune. After that, they disappear. Apparently, it was like a magical dimensional portal. Frieza scolds Cooler, why didn't he do anything? But Cooler says he still hasn't processed that situation very well. But they weren't the only ones there. On an asteroid close to the planet, someone was watching. This person in thought says that if Zuno is being targeted, that means the next target will be Super Dragon Balls. Suddenly, the Super Dragon Balls are completely destroyed. The person responsible for this was a woman who says it's good to be able to blow things up again, especially these damn relics. She's accompanied by 3 other mysterious people. One of them calls her Tyra, saying she did a good job. Now, Zarama's magic cannot be used in this realm. And that's how the Super Dragon Balls were destroyed by 4 mysterious enemies. And what did they mean about Zarama's magic not being usable? Now on the planet Shiriaru, Granola is arriving at Monito's house. He enters very angry, which causes curiosity in the old Namekian. Granola explains that on his last mission, he discovered that Frieza is still alive. This is clearly a reference to the Dragon Ball Super manga, when in chapter 68, Granola found from Eric that Frieza was alive. And this conversation is a reworked version of the scene where Granola talks to Monito about Frieza's rebirth in chapter 69. Well, when Granola tells Monito that Frieza is alive, the Namekian tells him not to do something stupid. If he tries to fight Frieza, he will be killed. But Granola says he can't let Frieza go unpunished. He needs to pay for what he did, just like the Saiyans. But suddenly the Dragon Ball in Monito's house suffers a strange incident. Granola asks what's going on, and before long the orb turns to stone. Granola walks to the orb and takes it in hand. Apparently, in this Dragon Ball Hakai reality, he won't be able to ask to be the strongest in the universe, which means the granola arc won't happen. Monaido is feeling strange for some reason. He feels something really bad. Now on planet Namek, the Grand Elder is sitting on his throne, if we can call it that. He is very reflective when a Namekian comes to his house and says that for some reason, the Dragon Balls have suddenly stopped working. The Elder, like Monaido, feels something strange, something very bad. Now on planet Earth. On the celestial platform, Dende is reflective, apparently very worried about something. Popo approaches Kami-sama and asks what's going on. The Earth God doesn't answer to his assistant. He just thinks that he feels the Dragon Balls have stopped working and that he has a sense of loss he can't explain. And by telepathy, he asked someone if he felt it too. The person Dende asked this was Piccolo, who was reflecting on a rock next to his house. This scene is very similar to what we saw in the trailer of the next movie, and it's a clear reference from Dragon Ball Hakai to the movie Dragon Ball Superhero. Piccolo, receiving Dende's telepathic question, says yes. For some reason he can't explain. He also senses that something very bad is about to happen. Meanwhile, at the place where the Super Dragon Balls were destroyed, that person who kidnapped Zuno finally appears. The creature arrives at the location through the magical portal it opened on the Zuno's planet. Arriving at the companions and seeing that the orbs have already been destroyed, the creature complains, saying that it missed the show. Another member of the group, upon seeing Zuno's kidnapper, comments that apparently the other mission was also successful. The woman named Tyra comments that without Zarama's magical power, at Zuno's knowledge, they sure won't be able to resist them. She's definitely talking about the 12 universes. But the strange man who is appearing to be the leader of the group says that they had a big victory today, but it is better not to underestimate their enemies. And after saying that, he tells his companions that it's time to leave before those rats get in the way. Who is he talking about? Some hours later, a door to a strange room opens. When a person enters this door, another person asks, "How was it, Master?" In the center of this room is a large table with several chairs, but only 2 of those chairs are occupied. One of the people who is sitting answers the question that the other has just asked, saying that by the look on the Master's face, it certainly didn't go well. The so-called Master, as he walks towards the table, says that they were deceived. The Celestial Mages did not return to their realm, but to Zeno's realm. Brajin, the great mage of invocations, kidnapped Zeno, and now the Super Dragon Balls were destroyed. One of the people sitting, who is revealed to be a man with spiky hair similar to Vegeta, says he warned him. The Master says he did his best for them to be cautious, keeping the apprentices on alert, but without confirmation that the enemies were indeed in Zeno's realm. He couldn't take any more serious action. Furthermore, this was no time for accusations. Zuno was kidnapped, and the Super Dragon Balls were destroyed. Zuno's realm was without a doubt the greatest source of information and the greatest source of magic power. The spiky-haired man says that if the Master knows who kidnapped Zuno, it's because he saw it happen. Why didn't he stop Brajin? The Master, apparently bothered by all the questioning, replies that apparently his Saiyan blood will still speak louder than his wisdom by the looks of it. He knows very well that a fight between himself and a Celestial Mage could cause the destruction of the entire Universe 7. He could never start a battle of such a level without the permission of the gods of the universe. The spiky-haired man argues against the Master, saying that he would rather lose Zuno than break a simple rule. He liked his primal blood better. The third person at the table finally decides to say something. He intervenes in the discussion to side with the Master, saying that the Master of the Celestial Guardians cannot afford to break rules. He did very well. That's what Master Anzen would do. And just to remind you, this group called Celestial Guardians was the same one that appeared in chapter 1 of the manga, and Anzen was the man who was trying to link 2 strange boxes and was stopped by a mysterious enemy. Continuing with the scene, this man who spoke in defense of the Master asked if he has discovered anything about Janemba. The Master, finally searching the main chair at the table, pulls the chair to sit down while reporting yes. He found the silence of the Guardians in Universe 7's Makai world strange. He went there and found them dead. And here the Master refers to the events that happened in chapter 4 and 5 of the manga, when Frieza and his subordinates went to the demon realm and stole Janemba's cocoon. The Master continues telling the story, saying that after finding the 3 Guardians dead, he went to Zuno to find out if whoever had done that was the Celestial Mages or not. But irony of fate, the thieves of Janemba cocoon were there. It was the mortal Frieza and another mortal who, from what he heard, was called Cooler. From what he understood, they also went after Zuno's wisdom. Hearing this report, the spiky-haired man is again angry. Why didn't the Master take Janemba? That would be an easy one for him, as stealing candy for a baby. But the Master again justifies himself by the rules, saying that his companion knows very well that mortals, whether good or bad, are citizens of a universe, and they, celestial guardians, are mediators of the realms. They cannot harass them without the permission of their respective gods. To do so would be a diplomatic offense. But the questioner says these rules are ridiculous. He doesn't think they should follow them so rigidly. But the master replies that is why he is the master and not him. The other with irony says that he is a great master. After all, he's only seen defeat since he took over. The master does not accept this offense silently, and with the same irony asks what victories your majesty had as a leader. This makes the man very angry, and hitting the table he stands up while transforming into a form that looks like the Super Saiyan Blue. The other man on the table apparently doesn't approve of this, and so he too stands up, emanating an aura of ki. And well, there's no way to know exactly what that is, but on the surface this man has angel-like traits, and this aura could be something like the Ultra Instinct. In any case, he scolds the Saiyan, saying that he doesn't think it's appropriate to raise ki before the master. The Saiyan is clearly worried about this reaction, and after both stare at each other for a few seconds, they back off. After that, the angel-like guardian opines, saying that he thinks it's better to seek solutions than criticisms at this time, and he asks the master what he intends to do. But before listening to the master's answer, it suggests that the time for being discreet is over, and they need to alert Zeno's realm of events so that the correct measures can be taken. The master agrees. He says that they must alert the authorities immediately. The kidnapping of Zuno and the destruction of the Super Dragon Balls can mean nothing but war. And in this moment, we can see that this master's identity, he is Pecan. Surely a remake of the character. Meanwhile, in Universe 7, Beerus is fishing in the planet's lake while Whis watches him, and the Oracle Fish sleeps in the aquarium. Whis, bothered by something, says that Vegeta has been in that place for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, Beerus says. He didn't even notice. Whis continues saying that at this point, the oxygen aura he put around Vegeta must be running out. And if he still hasn't come back, it's because he's either dead or he's having a hard time. But so what? Nobody told him to be an idiot. He was so jealous by Goku becoming a god and gaining new powers that he wanted to resort to such dangerous methods to evolve faster. Anything bad that happens is his fault. In his thoughts, Whis reflects on where Vegeta is, the anti-life dimension, the most harmful place that can exist in the universe, a dimension where the universe sends everything it discards to avoid its own destruction. It is such a bad place that even the gods of destruction avoid going there, because even these deities feel uncontrollable with the adversities of that place. That's where Vegeta went 2 weeks ago. But Whis decides to speak again, and this time to provoke Beerus, saying that he is nervous because Vegeta has been in that dimension for much longer than he managed to stay the first time he entered. Beerus tells the angel not to talk nonsense. He was there for the first time millions of years ago. Vegeta is still light years away from him. Suddenly, this conversation is interrupted by the Oracle Fish, who shouts, "Death! Lots of death!" Beerus asks what he's talking about. The fish continues, "Very powerful enemies. Death! A lot of death! The universes are in danger!" Beerus approaches the fish, but he sleeps again. But suddenly, the sound of thunder can be heard. Many lightning strikes from the sky, and then a big tornado. That worries Beerus. A lot of energy was accumulating there, and then he tells Whis that if it's spread out, the universe will. But Angel already knows. And by invoking his staff, he forms a protective globe around that area. A large amount of energy is released at that location, creating a huge explosion. But everything is contained by the force field created by Whis. After it's all over and Whis undoes the force field, we can see Vegeta, who is extremely injured. It doesn't take long for the Saiyan to finally pass out, falling to the ground. Beerus in disbelief asks Whis if Vegeta destroyed that entire dimension. The angel confirms, which makes the god of destruction complain, "This guy has no limits." But he discreetly smiles, perhaps an admiring smile. Whis tells Beerus he's going to take care of Vegeta. In the meantime, he'd better go to the meeting of the gods, or else he'll be late. This scares Beerus. He forgot the meeting. A few minutes later, Whis has already healed Vegeta, changed his clothing, and is now putting him to bed. Whis, in thought, says that Vegeta was so exhausted that the amount of ki in his body was less than 5%. Almost every bone in his body is broken or fractured, and his organs are severely damaged. If not for the angel's care, the Saiyan Prince would be dead in literally a few minutes. All this just for the desire to become the strongest. Mortals are really fascinating. But Whis' musings are interrupted when he receives a call from his staff. He realizes that there's definitely something serious going on. Why is Whis being called away so suddenly? What does the Oracle Fish prophecy mean? Who are these mysterious enemies? Soon,